Alright my friends, welcome back to Kiwit's Cat's House Magic. Today we're going to be talking about Sygg River Cutthroat. Does he need a tune-up, an overhaul, or reconstruction? Now those terms, what I mean by tune-up is I change 5 to 6 cards, just tweak it a bit, and it runs fine. Take out the cards that aren't working that well and replace them with something that works better. But no major changes, not changing the theme, not changing the general structure of the deck, just taking out cards that are no longer viable, or taking out cards that have better options nowadays that I've identified better replacements for. That would be a tune-up. An overhaul is I change about half the deck, I choose one of its themes, and I lean harder into it. So Kenrith had an overhaul a few weeks ago where I went from what he was and I leaned more strongly into the reanimation theme, the resurrection theme. And then a reconstruction is I pretty much take the deck apart, maybe even change the commander, and give it a totally new focus. Maybe just keep the mana base, just a few of the cards, but I change the deck almost completely, make it unrecognizable for the most part to what it was before. So if I was going to reconstruct Sygg, I can reconstruct him as Animar the Ruin Sage. No, not Ruin Sage, Ruin Thief. Animar the Ruin Thief. So Animar the Ruin Thief is 2 black-blue vampire rogue. I forget his power and toughness, but whenever a rogue you control hits somebody, they mill that many cards. I think they mill, I don't remember if they mill per hit or per amount of damage on each hit. I could do that. I could go back to Phoenix. I could take Sygg completely apart, keep Sygg because his toughness is greater than his power, so that fits Phoenix. Phoenix is a mill deck that I used to have. But what I think I just need is an overhaul. I don't think a tune-up is going to do it. I think he needs an overhaul, and the reason for that is the setup time. I've discussed this concept before. So the setup time is how much time you have from the start of the match until things really start kicking off. Sygg's original plan was I would play things like Dimir Cutpurse. 3 mana, 1 black-blue for a 2/2 spirit. Whenever you hit somebody, they throw away a card, they draw a card. Let me show you another one. Doomsday Spectre. 2 black-blue for a 2/3 flying spectre. Whenever he comes to play, I bounce a blue or black creature back to my hand. And whenever you hit somebody, I look at their hand and make them discard a card. So the idea was I would play small creatures, get them out quickly, and then I would use equipment to buff them up. The problem is these colors are not really suited for a weenie equipment deck. It's not, I don't have Stoneforge Mystic because I don't have white. I don't have, what's her name? The Equipment Planeswalker. Not Nalia. Nahiri. I don't have access to Nahiri because there's no white-red. Sword of Fire and Ice. So the idea that I would play these smaller creatures and then equip them, and I need enough small creatures and enough equipment to actually do this, isn't working. So turn 1, play land, maybe if I get lucky, Soul Ring, maybe. Turn 2, Sygg. Always turn 2 Sygg if I have black-blue, which I almost always do. And then turn 3, I play one of these specters, and then turn 4, I'm playing an equipment. So since I only have 4 mana, if I'm on curve, if I played a land of return, barring the presence of a meta rock at some point during this interaction, I can't equip it. So I've got these small creatures that need to get through in order to start doing things. And the problem is there are so many random breach creatures now. So many random flying creatures now that people are playing. So many random ways of killing a small creature around turn 4-5 that it's just not fast enough. I need to speed it up. For example, Hollow Spectre. So not only does he cost 3 for a 2/2 flyer, but to make somebody discard, I have to spend mana. So I have to have the mana available. And if I spent that mana on giving him an equipment, if I spent that mana on another Spectre in order to have a bigger board presence, excuse me, I still only have 1 or 2 small creatures on turn 4 or 5 when the other lads are playing bigger things. If Cube is playing Tyranids, it's kicking off. If the Genie is playing Merfolk, he's got 3 or 4 threats already. He's got a Lord out. If I've got islands, I can't block his Merfolk. So it's just not fast enough. So what we'll do is just go card by card, and we'll set what I'm definitely keeping, and then what I could excise. So lands, pretty much keeping the mana base. Urborg is cool. It doesn't have the same impact it used to for the Swamp Walk. So Urborg here, the original from Legends, taps for black, or you can tap it to remove First Strike or Swamp Walk from a creature until end of turn. Well, the only creature anybody plays these days with Swamp Walk is Shouldered Whispering One. But First Strike, yeah, removing First Strike, that's always relevant. Demir Cut Pairs, oh, I love this creature. It's just so much fun. Hit somebody, they throw away a card, and I draw a card. Good exchange on my part, but it's only 3 mana creature. It's only a 2/2 creature for 3 mana with no evasion. So I have to give it some kind of evasion, which is mana intensive, as we've discussed. Dragonlord Silumgar for black-blue for 3/5 flying touching Elder Dragon. When he comes to play, I get control of the target creature or planeswalker for as long as I keep him. So he's a strong possibility, but it's only a possibility. I'm going to set him aside as a potential cut. Whisper Soak Cloak. I'm going to start putting most of the equipment into the cut pile, the possible cut pile, because of the fact that I have a lot of equipment, and like I've already said, it's mana intensive. And in the mid-turns, turns 5, 6, Whisper Soak Cloak starts being better if I have something worth equipping. If I have something worth equipping and attacking with to get some kind of attack trigger. So I'm going to set that to the side. Okay, what I'm going to do is lean more into the discard theme of Sygg. And if you saw my mail call video, my most recent one, you saw the pile of cards I've got as potentials for Sygg. So I need to make a lot of cuts in order to accommodate those. That said, waste not. If I'm going to be leaning into discard, I kind of want to keep it. 1 and a black for enchantment. Whenever an opponent throws away a creature, get a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent throws away a land, I get 2 black. Whenever an opponent throws away a non-creature, non-land, draw a card. That stays. Mind Ripper. 3 and a black for 2/1. Those are shitty stats these days. Shitty. But it has shadow. And I can sacrifice this guy, and the defending player chooses and throws away 3 cards. Of course, only if he's attacking on a block, but nobody plays shadow, so that's pretty much guaranteed. And it doesn't specifically say if I can do the damage and then sacrifice him. Defending player chooses usability only if he's attacking on a block. I'm pretty sure I'd have to. This is one of those things where the wording, in my experience with the game, and the way that the rules are pretty strict, I will have to look him up to make sure that I cannot do the damage. But that's the way I've been playing it, is I have to sacrifice him before damage. Do I want to keep? Yeah, I'll put him in the potential. Land, definitely keeping that. Hostage Taker. So whenever she comes into play, 2 black-blue for 2/3 human pirate. Ooh. When she comes to play, exile target artifact creature until she leaves the battlefield. And I can cast that artifact or creature long as it's exiled, and I can spend mana of any type. Just the fact alone that she can stop somebody, that she can stop something. She acts as quasi-removal, so she keeps her slot. Swamp. Doomsday Spectre. 2 black-blue for 2/3 Flying Spectre. When it comes to play, I bounce a blue or black creature back to my hand. Never deals damage to a player. Look at their hand, and I choose a card from it to make them discard it. This will stay. This will stay because I'm going to be putting in like Elderfang Disciple, maybe Burglar Rat. Both those creatures, they come into play, and all of my opponents discard a card. So I'm going to be getting more advantage. Currently, the way it is, there's not a whole lot of things I want to bounce back with Doomsday Spectre. Pretty much just Balefire Strix. Baleful Strix. Pretty much just Baleful Strix is the only thing I want to bounce. But if I put more things I want to bounce, then he becomes better. Land Notion Thief. 2 black-blue for a 3/1 Flashy Human Rogue. If I was going with the Anowon Ruin Thief, I would definitely keep Notion Thief. Flash. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one he or she draws each turn, instead that player skips a draw and I draw the card. Now, I'm not sure. Fuck it, I want to keep that. Let's just skip it. Equilibrium. 1 blue-blue whenever I successfully cast a creature. I may pay 1 to return target creature to owner's hand. Yeah. It could be my creature, it could be opponent's creature. Bounce shit. Gonna want to bounce shit. This guy, he's cool. I like the foil. I like the way he looks. There's just something really satisfying about the double hybrid. I like that. I like the casting cost. It's just a really nice. I like the watermark for Dimir. That said, he's only a 2/2, and I'd spend 4 to target player throws away a card. Or 4, 3 and a blue, target player draws a card. Now this, I can only pick on one guy, but with Raven Man and, who's the other one? The other Tiny Bones. Everybody, all my opponents, all 3 of them, discard a card. So, do I want to keep a guy that costs 2 and maybe I'll draw cards and I have to pick on one player, or do I want to play a guy that costs 2, doesn't let me draw cards, but I pick on everybody? Yep, I want to pick on everybody. Teferi, Mage of Zafir. Excuse me. Well, I'm not really sure if I want to keep Teferi in this build. 2 triple blue for a 3/4 Legendary Human Wizard with Flash. My creatures that aren't in play, they gain Flash. And he slows my opponents down to only playing sorceries. Yeah, well, I need to cut some things. And just because I'm putting that pile doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be cut. But there's a strong possibility. Anyway, he will probably make it back in. To Trophy Mage, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Human Wizard. She comes to play. I go find a sword of this and that. I go find Loxodon Warhammer. I go find some piece of equipment that's going to fuck with people. Or the Squire, the brass Squire. I can find him so I can equip for free. The thing is, if I'm taking out most of the equipment and I'm taking out the brass Squire, then I don't really need her, so she will be cut. Nykthos. That's a God of the Sea, 2 and a blue for a 5/5 indestructible god. So, unless my devotion blue is 5, she's not a creature. I get to scry 1 at my upkeep, and I can make something unblockable. But all in all, if I'm not relying on attacking as much, I don't really need her quite so badly. So she's a potential cut. Dismember. 1 black Phyrexian. Target creature should -5 until end of turn. Instantly. A little bit of pinpoint death. So I'll think about that. I'll come back to it. Needle Spectre, this guy. He's kind of expensive. His price went up since I acquired him. 1 black for a 1/1 Flying Spectre with Wither. I don't give a shit about Wither. When he hits somebody, when he deals combat damage, they throw away that many cards. Now the idea is, if he's got something like Sword of Light and Shadow and he hits for 3, that's 3 cards. And then I get the sword triggers, I get the other triggers. But still, it's the same problem as I illustrated at the beginning of the video, where, say, turn 3 I play him, turn 4 I'm getting down some equipment, and if it's a cheaper equipment, then yeah, I can equip him. But if it's a sword, if it's locked in a warhammer, I can't get the sword down, the equipment down, and equip him at the same time to make him bigger. So he's in the potential cuts. Sword of Light and Shadow. This one will probably make it back in. I will most likely keep a few pieces of equipment, because this does give a creature relevant protections from black and white, meaning it can't be teared, it can't be swords to plowshares, and it lets me raise dead. So if everybody's discarding, if I've got Liliana the Veil, for example, and everybody discards, if I Sword of Light and Shadow and I hit somebody, then I get to bring one of my creatures back. So this will probably make it back in. Lightning Greaves, oh yeah. Haste and Shroud, that will stay, because that's cheap and free to equip. Mana Rock, that will stay. Sword of Fire and Ice. Same problem as the other swords. Potential cut. Land. Spectre Shroud. This is fun, but it's not as good as it used to be. 2 to cast it, 1 to equip it. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to player, they throw away a card from their hand. They discard. Like I said, I'm just going to take out almost all the equipment and think about that later. Island. Reanimate. Well, if everybody's discarding cards, somebody's going to put something spicy in the graveyard that I want to work for me. Dimir Doppelganger. Same thing. 1 black-blue for 0/2 shapeshifter. 1 black-blue. Remove target creature in a graveyard from the game. She becomes it. And she can do it again. She can keep the ability. And if everybody's discarding, there's going to be some fun things in the graveyard. Umazawa's Jide. Oh, Jide. 2. Equip 2. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, it gets 2 charge counters. Remove a charge counter, and either equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end turn, a target creature gets -1/-1 until end turn, or gain 2 life. A lot of options, a lot of things going on. This will probably make it back in, but right now, for brevity, I'm just going to be putting all the equipment in the maybe cut pile. Crystal Shard, 3 to cast, 3 or 1 blue to use. Bounce a creature back to its owner's hand unless I pay 1. This is pretty much in here for my creatures to bounce them back to my hand so I can save them from death. I can do different effects, because typically your opponents will have ones. Now sometimes they won't be paying attention. Sometimes you will say Crystal Shard, you announce it, you play it, they look at it, they read it, they understand it, and then they play a creature, they go to attack, and they're tapped out. And you're like, oh, you tapped out. I'm going to bounce your biggest motherfucker back to your hand. And they're, oh, shit, I shouldn't have tapped out. No, you shouldn't, but you did. That said, potential cut. Locks in Warhammer, 3 to equip, 3 to cast. Equipped creature gets +3, trample, and lifelink. Yeah, equipment. Ashiok, Dream Renderer. 1, double blue-black. Spells and abilities your opponents control cannot let them search the library. -1, target player puts top 4 cards of the library into the graveyard, then exit the graveyard control. So let's keep that in there. Void Mage Husher. She's one of those cards that when she works, when she's relevant, oh, she's very relevant. She has an immediate impact. Most of the time, that's not the case. Nope. 3 and a blue for a 2/2 flashy human wizard. When she comes into play, counter target activated ability. Not triggered, activated. So, to be honest, Tishana's Tidebinder, if I have a lot of bounce, is going to be better. Now, she does have this clause, whenever you play a spell, you can bounce her back to its owner's hand. So you can play her, counter an activated ability, such as a Planeswalker Loyalty ability, such as Kessig Wolf Run, giving some creature massive trample. You can counter that. But it doesn't come up as often where you really want to get her down. not in the games that I play, so she's a potential cut. Rexiel, the Risen Deep. 3 black, double blue, Island Walk, Swamp Walk. 5/8. Whenever you smack somebody, you can cast target instant or sorcery from their graveyard without paying its mana cost, and then that card would be exiled. Well, if everybody's discarding, he gets better, doesn't he? Land. This card, so I bought a few packs of this set. I forget what the hell this set is. Ultimate Masters, probably. Yeah, Ultimate Masters. I bought a few packs of it. A stupid decision. This was the absolute best card I opened out of those few packs. So I stopped. Because I realized I was just going to keep losing. Swamp. Excuse me. Hollow Spectre. We've already discussed him. Potential cut. Baleful Strix. Black-blue for a 1/1 flying Death Toucher. So he gives your opponent something to think about if they want to attack early in the game. And he comes away, draws a card. So he's pretty good. Sturmgeist. 3 double blue. For a flying spirit, power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. Whenever you hit somebody, draw a card. So he's pretty good. His power and toughness is variable. Goes up and down as the game progresses. Lets you draw cards, encourages you to attack. But still he costs 5, and I'm not sure if he's going to be better than some of the other things that can go in. Tiny Bones, Trinket Thief. 1 to black for a 1/2 Skeleton Rogue. Beginning of every end step, if opponent throw away a card, you draw a card loose. Well, if I'm leaning in the discard, that's going to be happening a lot more often. And then this 4 black, 6 mana. Each opponent, no cards in hand, loses 10 life. Okay, that's cute, but it's probably not going to happen. Nightveil Spectre. Triple black, triple blue hybrid, 2/3 flying spectre. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they exile the top card of their library. And you may play card. Now, you can't spend manas or mana of any color. So if they're playing a white-red deck, or blue-green deck, that's a bad example. If they're playing a red-white deck, or green-red-white, anything other than blue-black, you're exiling cards at the top of their library, and unless it's a land, you can't play it. It says you can play cards. It doesn't say cast. So you can play lands that are off color, but you cannot play spells that are off color. So he's a potential cut. Land. Rogue's Passage. If I'm coming out of the attack focus, if I'm leading into the just discard focus, I don't really need Rogue's Passage as much. So that's a potential cut. And that'll probably get replaced by Myriad Landscape. Myriad Landscape, of course, is a Corrosive Verge for the same basic land. Which, in this deck, in Sygg, a lot of times I've noticed, I will get a lot of black or a lot of blue. It's not as common as I would like, where I get an even distribution of colors. Where I get, like 2 swamps, 3 islands, something along those lines. That doesn't, usually it's heavy one color, light the other color. And the cards I'm getting, I kind of want the color I'm light on. So Myriad Landscape is going to help there. Russian Polluted Delta. I had one of the lads one of the Russian lads I play with that obviously knows the language, tell me how this is pronounced in Russian, what it says, and I forget. I need to remember that, because it sounds cool. Shadow Mage Infiltrator. He's really cool. I really like him. So John Finkel here. 1 black-blue for a 1/3 wizard. He's got Fear. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, I may draw a card. Last night, I was playing Sygg, testing him out again, seeing what works, what doesn't, getting a better idea of how I need to reconstruct the deck, to overhaul the deck, tune up the deck, depending on what I finally decided, which is an overhaul. I got him down on turn 3, and I kept poking cube to get a card, which usually that irritates people. But the thing is, the genie was irritating cube a lot more. So cube was not terribly upset with me poking him every turn to get a card. he was more upset with the bullshit that the genie was doing. So we'll put Shadow Mage in a potential cut. Citadel Inquisitor, 1 double blue for a 2/2 Island Walking Merfolk Rogue. Island Walk, that's the most relevant part. Winter Shield's combat damage player. I get to search a library for an artifact card, exile it. They shuffle, and until end of turn I may play the card. So I can either exile something permanently because I want to get rid of it, or I can exile something I can actually cast and use it. The thing is, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to be ripping people's artifacts out, at random times, or just lean to discard. So she's a potential cut. Sakashima, the Imposter, 2 double blue for a 3/1 legendary human rogue. So you're saying I've got a lot of rogues in here. If I went Rogue Spectre, if I went Anawan, the deck would completely change its character. I would lean more into the attack posture, but I'm not going to do that. I decided to lean more into the discard theme. He comes to play. He can be a copy of any creature in play, but it doesn't have to be. I can leave him as a 3/1 Sakashima with the ability to blue, I can bounce him back to my owner's hand in turn. So he doesn't bounce immediately. If he's going to get swordsed or killed, if he's Sakashima or if he's a copy of something, if you activate the bounce ability, he's still going to die because he only bounces back at the end of the turn. So he's a potential cut. Land. Limdol's Vault. Oh, this is hilarious last night. So last night I was playing Sygg. The genie was playing his new Angie Falconwrath deck, which is Madness, discard. So I cast Limdol's Vault on about turn 3. And the genie said, oh, this is going to take a while. I look at my top 5 cards, and guess Grimoire was in those top 5. And I told the no, this is not going to take long at all. And I put Guess Grimoire on the top of my library. Cast it. Guess Grimoire is a 4-mana artifact that says whenever your opponent would discard a card, you may draw a card. Well, he's playing Angie Falconwrath. He's discarding and doing madness and stuff every turn. So I must have drawn about 10 cards off him that game. The thing is, one of those games where none of the 3 decks could really get any traction, and so it was slow, and I was going to win, but it was going to take a while just based on what was going on. We could see the trajectory, and we'd already been playing for about 90 minutes, so we said, okay, we're tired. It's already after 10 o'clock. So I won by decision. Anyway, I'll leave Limdol's Vault in there. Oh, for those of you who don't know, so you look at the top 5 cards of your library, instant speed. As many times as you choose, you may pay 1 life to put those on the bottom of your library and look at the next 5. And then once you've selected the 5, you shuffle your everything but the top 5, and you put them back in your library in any order you choose. So it doesn't let you draw the card immediately, but it does set up your next 5 draws so you know what you're going to get, and you find something impactful, so that can stay. Sangromancer, 2 black for a 3/3 flying vampire shaman. They've decided not to use that anymore. Fucking wizards, stupid bullshit. Anyway, so whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, I may gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent throws away a card, I may gain, if I'm going discard, I'm keeping her. Liliana Spectre, 1 double black for a 2/1 flyer. Weak stats. But when it comes to play, every opponent discards a card, so it stays. Turgid, God of Fright. Turgid, God, is she fucking annoying. 3 black for 4/5 legendary God with menace. Whenever an opponent sacrifices non-token permanent or throws away a permanent card, I get them. I may get them. I probably will get them. So she stays. Alright, part 2. Vora Stronghold. Yeah, we're going to be discarding, so kind of want to keep that. There's the Brass Squire. 3 for a 1/3 mirror. Just tap him. Attach target equipment and control to target creature control. No spending mana, no It only equips until you just tap him, bang, somebody gets an equipment at instant speed. So he's pretty damn cool in equipment deck. If you don't know about him and you have an equipment deck, get one. Thank me later. Manamo, School of Water's Edge. It's just cool. It's a land. Temple of the False God. I go back and forth on this card. I go back and forth on this card a lot. I originally had them in every deck, and then I slowly started taking them out of some decks because it just didn't matter that much. I'd rather have something that produces a color the deck needs. So I think all my decks that are 3 or more colors, I've taken this out of. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So I only keep this in decks that are 2 or 1 color. I don't have any no color decks. Underground Sea, yeah, that stays. Wash out, 3 in a blue, return all permanents of the color of your choice to their owner's hand. I should put in hibernation instead. Typically, the color that bothers me is green. Sometimes, rarely, I want to wash out white or wash out red, black, blue. Of course, if I choose black, blue, I'm affected too. So this is a maybe. Land, Blizzard Spectre. 2, black, blue, 2/3 flying Snow Spectre. Whenever this bastard deals combat damage to player, they either bounce a permanent they control to their hand or they throw a card. They choose the card. They choose what they bounce back. So they'll bounce back something that is not what you want them to bounce back. So pretty much you would choose discard a card. That said, we'll put that in the potential cuts. Land. Words of Waste. Here's where we're getting into the combo. Here's where we're getting into the discard theme of Sygg. So, guess Grimoire. Whenever an opponent would discard a card, actually, let me just set that aside and talk about it later. Land. Liliana, Waker of the Dead. 2 black. Everybody throws away a card. Each opponent can't loses 3 life. Neg 3. Target creature gets neg X until end of turn, where that's the number of cards in your graveyard. Neg 7. I get an emblem with the beginning combat on my turn. Put target creature card from a graveyard, any graveyard, into play under my control. And it gains haste. So she's good. She stays. Counterspell stays. Disallow, which is... I don't know how you'd say that in Russian. I really don't. But I know what it does. It stays. Land. Okay. Arcane Denial, another counterspell. A lot of people hate this card. A lot of people really fucking hate this card. They think it's trash. Because an opponent gets to draw cards. Given that I'm doing this card, maybe them drawing cards is not really what I want them to do. So we'll put that in the potential cuts. Otherwise, it's 1 blue, 1 colorless to counter target spell. And yeah, I get to draw 1 card. They 2, so we'll put that in potential cuts. Because there's probably better counter spells for this deck the way I'm building it. Now, in Nekazar, this is perfect. Because if Nekazar is in play and I Arcane Denial, okay, they draw 2 cards and they take 2 damage. Drawing cards, making my opponents draw cards when Nekazar is in play, is what the deck does. But that's not Sygg. And I'm going to be keeping Sygg. So I haven't talked about why I'm keeping Sygg as the commander. I'm keeping Sygg as the commander because I like him. Because he comes down early. He's got a relevant toughness for the early game. So if somebody has a 1 or a 1/1, 2/2 that they want to poke me with, that has some ability, usually it'll have some ability, I can stop it. And then just randomly, if my opponents start attacking each other, I will get cards if they deal more than 3 damage to each other. So over the course of the game, him just sitting around, if your opponents start going after each other, you'll draw a decent number of cards. Just him sitting there. So that's why he's staying as the commander. Plus he lets me keep black-blue. Aqueduct. Started taking those out too of a lot of decks, but I'll keep it in. Cabal Coffers. I've got Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, so why not have coffers? Swamp, Soul Ring. So the thing with coffers is I won't have a lot of things with high mana cost. I won't have a lot of things that have X in them, so I don't really need coffers. But since I own one, and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth is in the deck anyway, I might as well put it in. Soul Ring definitely stays. Sword of Sinew and Steel. You know, talking about coffers, if coffers is in play, and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth is in play, typically I can cast something and equip it at the same turn. But I have to have both those in play. Sygg does not have green, so it makes it more difficult to find specific lands. I would need Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Urza's Cave. What else? Exploration Map. I would need something like that in order to get the other half I'm missing. Right now, the way it is, I'm relying on pure card draw to draw into the pair, Urborg and coffers. It's not really working though. Is this one of the swords? So, like I said, I'll probably keep a couple of the most relevant pieces of equipment, and this is pretty relevant. 3, equip 2, equipped creature gets protection from black and red, +2/+2. When it hits somebody, I can destroy a planeswalker and an artifact, and it doesn't have to be the guy that I hit. I can hit this guy, and then I can blow up his planeswalker and his artifact. So, but we'll put the potential cuts. Land. Wizards, fucking finish the cycle. It's been 20 years. Sword of Feast and Famine. Yeah, I'm probably going to keep that one too. Texture from black and green. When it hits somebody, they discard a card. Yeah, well, it says discard. So yeah, let's just keep Sword of Feast and Famine in there. Consecrated Sphinx. 4, double blue. Flying. Whenever opponent draws a card, I may draw 2 cards. It's so pretty. Let's talk about that later. Venser, Shaper Savant. 2 blue for a flashy 2/2 human wizard who comes into play, bounce something, a spell or permanent back to its owner's hand, and then hopefully make them discard it. Let's keep Venser. Painful Quandary. 3 double black, whenever opponent casts a spell, they lose 5 life unless they discard a card. Stays. Command Tower. Thief of Sanity. 1 black-blue for a 2/2 Flying Spectre. Whenever he hits somebody, I look at the top 3 cards of the library. Exile 1 of them face down, put the rest in the graveyard. For as long as the card remains exiled, I may look at it, I may sniff it, I may cast it, I may spend mana or a mana of any type to cast a spell. Unlike the whatever the hell the other one is, where you can cast it, but you can't spend mana of any type. Still potential. Memory Plunder, well, discard. Quad black or quad blue hybrid. I can play an instant or sorcery card in an opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. That's pretty good. Mana Rock. There it is. Guess. Alright, we're getting close to the end. So Damnation, kind of need some kind of board wipe at some point. So Damnation will stay. 2 black, bury all creatures. Whirlacroy Tower. This is really dependent on if I expect to be drawing a lot of cards. So I need to look at the final build. So this will go into potential. Glenelendra Archmage, 3 and a blue for a 2/2 fairy wizard with flying. 1, sacrifice her, counter target non-creature spell. Well, she's a counter spell on stick, so let's keep her. Hypnotic Spectre, 1 black for a 2/2 flying spell. I love this guy. I have fond memories of years ago. Turn 1, Dark Ritual, Hypnotic Spectre. Turn 2, Unholy Strength, attack for 4 in the air, and they throw away a card at random. And I like that it has the real world quote. There's no trace of aught on that illumined face. But it's becoming less of a Spectre deck and more of just a discard deck, so we'll set him in the potential cut pile. Swamp. Noetic Scales. Yeah, at the bottom of the fucking pile. At the very bottom. One of the cards I kind of rely on. So, Noetic Scales. 4. During each player's upkeep, return to owner's hand each creature they control with power greater than the number of cards. Now, if I'm making the people discard, if I'm making my opponents discard, and cutting their hands down to size. So let's say, during the upkeep, they only have 2 creatures. Well, everything with power 3 and greater gets bounced back to their hand. And if that was a token army, that kind of sucks. So this is great for creature control. And this in and of itself. So when I play it, there's always one guy that's bullshit. You always play these bullshit old cards. Well, yeah. One of my goals in deck building is to every deck has to have some bullshit old card because I have them and I like them. And somebody else realizes that if they keep their hand size to a certain level, their creatures won't be that affected, and it's going to fuck the guy that's playing the big creatures, meaning they don't have to worry about him so much, and they kind of like it. So in a way, it's a quasi-political card. Anyway, let's look at this. Guess Grimoire. 4. Whenever opponent throws away a card, I may draw a card. Words of Waste. 2 and a black for an enchantment. Spend 1. The next time you would draw a card this turn, each opponent throws away a card from his or her hand instead. Do you see the combo here? So as long as I have mana, if I would draw a card at any stage of the, whatever is going to give me that effect, Consecrated Sphinx, for example. So when an opponent draws a card, instead I might draw 2 cards. So put him in the potential cut pile for the time being. So I spend 1, and then instead of drawing one of those cards, each opponent throws away a card from his or her hand instead. And then when they do that, I may draw a card. Then I can spend 1, instead of drawing the card, each opponent throws away a card from his or her hand instead. And then instead of drawing, as long as I have mana, and they have cards in hand, I can keep doing that. That's the idea. So that is the 3 piles of Sygg. Land, keep, potential cut. In the next episode, we'll look at how I'm going to, and this is pretty, overhaul about half the cards, but I'm keeping one of the themes. I'm keeping the discard theme. I'm leaning into that hard. If this pile was only about 10 cards, then I'm doing a reconstruction. All right, so in the next episode, we'll look at the overhaul.